Hello, guys. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to my show, Get Real with Jasmin. And if this is your first time to my show, welcome. And this is a podcast about personal growth, self development, and just whatever that's going on with my life. So, as usual, let's start with a story. So a few weeks ago, I took a job at an exhibition center, and just that kind of easy job. So there was literally nothing for us to do. And then so the dude that was sitting next to me, he literally pulled out a textbook and then just started studying. Like that just sounds so Asian, like what kind of people will bring a textbook with them on the way to work? But then like I was so curious, so I started harassing him. I was annoying him. I was like, "What are you studying?" And then he told me that he was studying Japanese. And then so I was like, "So why are you studying Japanese?" And then turns out he used to work in Japan for a year. So then I got so interested because I'm very curious about like foreign cultures, and I found people who study abroad or like live abroad has like more interesting stories. So I will always ask him about like do you have any cultural shock, what's the people like there, what is the lifestyle like there, are there any racist people, like anything like that. So then we just started talking and talking. And I don't remember how, but at some point of the conversation, he told me that he studied master degree in the UK. So in my mind, I was like, whoa, fancy, like that's more like a Taiwanese complex. When we heard the word UK and master, these words combined together. It's like, you already have my admiration. Well, I'm just kidding. We're not that superficial, okay? Come on. But anyways, so what after talking for a while, this dude told me that actually study in UK and getting a master degree there is the biggest regret of his life. So, allow me to walk you through the story. So, after he graduated from UK and then just moved back to Taiwan, there's like this expectation from his parents, high expectations that comes with a fancy degree, that he needs to work in business, he needs to work in a certain job, a certain company, to live up to this successful image that people has when it comes to the fancy degree. And it's not just about his parents, like he also feels this pressure himself because the parents invested so much in his education. Like of course he has to work in business, to make money. But because there's so much pressure internally and externally, it was limiting him, and he was so unhappy for years. And he told me that it was the moment that he decided to free himself from that label, that he finally feel free and free to do whatever he wants, feel free to pursue a career path that he genuinely enjoy. And guys, I might not have a master degree in the UK, but I do understand that kind of pressure when you trap yourself by the labels that you carry. So that's the topic that I want to talk about today. Labels are like a double-edged sword. It can strengthen you, but it can also imprison you. So when we think about the word label, it can be quite intuitive, like your gender, your nationality, your race, or it can be something that you adopt throughout your life, like your degree, your job, and also like your strength or weakness, like being good at math, being bad at English, or your relations to someone, like you're someone's daughter, you're someone's mom. So how do you guys introduce yourself in a casual setting? What are the labels that you put on yourself? So for me, when I was living in Taiwan, I used to introduce myself with my degree and my job because I went to a pretty decent university and I was really proud of the job that I was working at, even though I hated it, because it allows me to show off my English skills. So these are the two labels that I use all the time. I was hiding behind these two labels. Like those people who go on a date and then just nonstop talking about their jobs. Well, that used to be me. And I don't even like animals, so I can't even label myself as an animal lover, as a dog lover. And just to be clear, okay, I don't hate animals. I just don't love them, okay? Like, just don't cancel me, please. And anyway, but looking back now, I didn't even realize it at that time. It's like, I need those two labels because I have no idea who I was without them. But how sad is it that I was defining myself by the things that I don't even like? Like, how sad it is that you are defining by the things that you didn't even enjoy. But the problem is, if I can feel good about the labels that I carry, I can also feel bad about the same labels. So after I moved to Australia, these labels doesn't work anymore. I cannot hide behind these labels anymore because nobody ever heard of the university that I went to. And I was working as a waitress, so I wasn't even proud of my job. And who do I show my English skills to? Like to Aussies? Well, I still cannot understand their accents right now. Like, well, nobody can, so. But anyway, my point is, these labels doesn't work anymore. And so at some point, I was feeling like I don't know who I was. And guys, that's literally where my life starts changing. It's very hard to put into words, but it feels very liberating because by not having these labels, the limitation that came from it also disappear. And it's probably the first time in my life that I don't feel responsible to these labels anymore. That I get to do whatever that I want, do whatever that I enjoy. And, I don't feel like I need to choose a certain job just because of my degree, because of my background experience, and just because my English skill. Like, I just can be whoever I want. But here's the thing, it's not about me moving to another country to free myself. Because I am very lucky to have this opportunity to move abroad. But not everybody has this opportunity. Not everybody can afford it. But it's not about where you are physically. These labels all the time is just in my head. It's like I made this up to limit myself. Like a mental cage. It's almost insane how powerful these labels are. The impact they have on us is huge, that they hold us back from doing the things that we love and force us to keep doing the things that we hate. Think about those Hollywood stars who are famous for one iconic roles like Marvel heroes or Harry Potter. These people try so hard to break away from these labels, to break away from these roles because it's limiting them, even though it's what makes them famous. And another common thing about label these days are MBTI. Well, that's probably for Asians, but MBTI helped me progress a lot in my life. Well, I'm not going to go into details today because I definitely want to talk more about this in the future, but I want to talk about it with a Korean because they are pros. Okay, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert here. But anyways, MBTI helped me a lot in terms of my career and my personality, but at some points it starts limiting me, and I didn't even realize it in the beginning. It's like I am focusing on what I am supposed to do, who I am supposed to be, instead of how I actually feel. So like being the most rational type among all the personalities, I started to feel very embarrassed when I feel emotional, or I started to feel guilty when I am doing things based on my intuition instead of logic. And this reminds me of a story that a few months ago I was going on a trip with my friend. And this friend was telling me like, Jasmin, I actually feel a bit down these days. I'm not in a good mood. So I was like, oh, what's going on? Tell me. And then she told me that she's going on this trip with another friend next month. And okay, so to make this story less confusing, we'll name this another friend Cristiano. Okay, so my friend is going on a trip with Cristiano. So my friend feel like she's doing all the stuff, she's doing all the planning, and Cristiano isn't contributing anything, and she's not doing any work at all. So I was like, well, just tell Cristiano how you feel, communicate it. And then she's like, yeah, I did. I told Cristiano. And then Cristiano told me that, well, I am a P person, so I don't plan. And guys, I was listening to this story. I was like, go fuck yourself. What the hell does that even mean? What do you mean, like, you are a P person, so you don't plan? Well, you are not a P person. You are just a person. And when you need to plan, you fucking plan. Like, imagining telling that to your boss. It's like, hey, boss, I will miss the deadline of this project because I am a P person. Or telling them like, I am an introvert, so I cannot work in a team. Who does that? Like, since when MBTI becomes a justification? Since when? Like, guys, are you really going to define yourself with these 8 letters? Are you really going to justify yourself based on your MBTI? Or are you really going to decide how you're supposed to feel based on your MBTI? Like, you are so much more than these 16 personalities. And guys, MBTI can change throughout a lifetime. Don't get trapped by these labels. Follow your feeling, follow your gut, and trust it. And then use your MBTI to analyze yourself, to know yourself better, but not the opposite. And don't even get me started on star signs and all that. There are so many ways that we define ourselves by things that don't even matter. But guys, don't get me wrong. I do not think all labels are bad. But be very careful about what label you choose to put on yourself. I think labels can be very empowering too. Like, I will label myself as a podcaster right now, but it doesn't give me fame, it doesn't give me money, it doesn't give me social status, but it represents a thing that I love, and I want to be defined by that. Or when I live in Australia, I label myself as a Taiwanese because Taiwanese people have great reputation abroad. Well, maybe I ruined it, but alright, just kidding. But I think, like, I am proud of where I come from, right? And that's the thing. These labels doesn't feel limiting anymore. It feels freeing because it's tied to something that I love, and it's a label that I chose for myself. I think labels can be very empowering too when it's the one that you've chosen for yourself, when it's tied to your passion, your hobby, or the things that genuinely brings you happiness or joy. You know, it doesn't have to be a grand career title or a fancy degree. Well, if you really love your job, please feel free to do it, especially when it's so interesting, like an astronaut. I would love to know that. And I do have friends like that. Like, not astronaut, but I do have friends that genuinely can go nonstop talking about their jobs. And that's good too. But if you don't, like, it could be like a basketball team that you love, a sports that you enjoy, an issue that you care about, or, you know, your love about animals, whatever. Because these labels reminds you of what you care about, what you invest your time and energy in, and what makes you feel alive. So if you have to label yourself, do it with your passion, with your hobby, with things that you love, not some mundane, meaningless, superficial bullshit. So at the end of this episode, I want you to think about the labels that you put on for yourself. How do you introduce yourself to others? And are these labels actually representing who you are? Remember, you are not your labels. You can be so much more than that, and you are so much more than that. Remember, label can change, just like passion can change throughout a lifetime. And it can change a million times if you want. But don't ever let it stop you or restrict you from following your heart or chasing your dream or passion. So here's the takeaway. Label can trap us, yes. It can make us feel like we have to do something that we don't feel like it, something that we don't enjoy it. But it can also be a very powerful tool for self-expression. And the trick is to make sure that the one that you're wearing is the one that you've chosen for yourself, is the one that actually represents who you are. Don't be defined by the job you hate or the degree that your parents forced you to study. Define yourself by the things that you love, the things that brings you joy and passion. And when you do that, labels stop becoming limits. It becomes a reflection of who you truly are. And guys, thank you so much for listening to my podcast today. And as usual, pause this podcast, leave a 5-star review, share it with your friends. And if you have any suggestions, any recommendations, feel free to let me know in the comments. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye now!